What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. It's time for the Week 7 matchup review. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, here on Fridays, Adam Ronis. And if you don't get enough of us here right now, you can listen to Fantasy Alarm Show from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Adam and I are going to be there also. Special guest Papoose. That's right. Adam busting out the music on the show, and that's going to be a great time. But let's stay focused here right now. Adam, already the news is pouring in, and it is fixing to be one hell of a slate now.
Yeah, and this is why I don't like going into detail about lineup questions on Wednesdays and even Thursdays and for DFS because so much changes and people pop up on the injury report that we didn't know about, of course, in 2020 with COVID. And I know we'll get to that. So, it's great to put in the preparation and get your research started, but never come to a final decision on Wednesday or Thursday. Obviously, if you have players involved in the Thursday night game, sure, you make the decision, but there's just so much going on, and I think today is the epitome of that. We have so many things breaking and players ruled out and now more injuries that it just is changing the slate. It's changing season-long leagues. You're going to have to go to the waiver wire and be quick. I mean, I know some of the players we're going to talk about in our leagues, they're already rostered. We're in deep leagues, but we know a lot of you are listening out there, 10, 12-team leagues, where these players might not be available, and that's why I try and tweet it out right away. And I always say, like, some people are like, oh, yeah, well, that guy's on. So I don't care. If my tweet helps one person add someone, I did my job.
Right. Exactly. You know what? And that's actually, it's been a big hang up of mine. I love how you tweet that out. I'm answering questions left and right that people ask rather than worrying about even my own fantasy teams. And, and I play in a bunch of industry leagues. And every time I go to the waiver wire, these guys have easily been picked up because you have a number of analysts. It's more important for them to worry about their host league for Sirius XM than it is, to help out the subscribers. So for me, it's all about you guys out there. So let's jump to it right now, Adam. The two biggest stories right now: Joe Mixon officially ruled out. Aaron Jones in a smash spot, matchup here against Houston. They're saying that he's more questionable than doubtful. However, when a guy shows up with a calf injury on an injury report on a Friday, that blows, dude.
Yeah, it's not good at all. And Aaron Jones obviously has been great this year. And like you said, great spot this week against the Texans, was probably going to be pretty popular in DFS. And now you're probably going to shy away from him. Even if he does suit up, we already know that he's not 100%. When I saw it, I told people, hey, Jamal Williams is probably owned in a lot of leagues, but if he's not, go get him. I have him in a couple leagues where I already had him and was rostering him, again, just as insurance, next man up. And he's actually looked pretty good this year. And I think with bye weeks too, he was certainly someone that you can consider flexing. And now if Jones does sit out, he gets in a prime spot. Even A.J. Dillon in a deeper format because they probably mix him in if Jones is out. But this is a decision, obviously, you're going to have to wait until Sunday. That game is 1 p.m. Eastern. The thing is, it's for me, I don't know about you. I mean, if I have Aaron Jones in only one league, but if he suits up, I think I have to play him knowing that, hey, he could re-injure it. But in that league, I don't have Jamal Williams. So if I have Aaron Jones and I don't have great options, and I can't imagine many do unless they're in an 8 or 10 team league, I'm probably going to play him. But again, it's Friday. We'll see on Sunday what the reports are, how he looks in warm-ups, see if there's any video. But Jones is probably one of those players. If he's out there, you're probably inclined to play him.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat as well. I've got him in one league. I don't have Jamal Williams, backing him up. If he suits up, I mean, you're just gonna have to bite the bullet. Listen, you know what? I'm in a league so deep, I had to go with Devonta Freeman last night because I didn't know. I didn't have news on Joe Mixon yet, and I was like, well, I could take a shot with Joe Mixon, or I go with, use Devonta Freeman now, and boom, 8 yards at an ankle injury, and whatever. So that's it. It happens. We're looking at some other news. John Brown, he's on the injury report now. He's already been ruled out. Immediately, John and Pemba sends me a G-chat message. He's like, Gabriel Davis, salary saver, value play. I mean, it is the Jets. And we know Stephon Diggs will eat, but why wouldn't Gabriel Davis be a guy you want?
He could be. I mean, last week he didn't really do much. Brown did play, but he wasn't 100%. The only concern I have is if the Bills build a big lead, do they not pass as much? They have been pretty aggressive, and this definitely is a bounce back spot for them against the Jets. They beat them by 10 in week 1, and it does look like Sam Darnold could be back. I don't think he's officially been ruled in just yet, but that, could change things, maybe keep it more competitive potentially. But yeah, I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of options this week too.
Yeah.
That we might not need to save that much salary this week. But yeah, there's different ways to build, but Davis has to be in the mix. I like what I've seen from him. I added him. I added him last week. I didn't play him, but a pretty deep league. I just put him on the roster. But I think he is intriguing.
Yeah, no doubt. That game, by the way, it's already down to 11 points. Buffalo by 11. Started at 13, went up to 13 and a half now. And with the news of Darnold, being, coming back, that's actually now gone down to 11 there. I'm with you. I mean, the Jets do an okay job against the run, but yeah, would it not make sense to say that this could be, I mean, like a Zach Moss type week? I don't know what they do with Devin Singletary. I really don't. It doesn't seem like they like him very much because even when they're in a good spot, to use Singletary, they still don't use him.
No, it's true. I mean, last week was a case of them, I guess, falling behind and they kind of had to abandon the run early. But yeah, we've seen it. I mean, when Moss was healthy, they kind of used both. And then, of course, Josh Allen is always a threat to take a touchdown away near the goal line. So it's really hurt Singletary. Yeah, I think you can't be happy if you have him right now. And yes, the Jets have been pretty good against the run. And I think they're going to want to get Josh Allen going too, get him bounced back after the last couple of weeks. And this is the perfect spot to get his confidence back and get him to put up numbers.
There's a lot of slump busting going on this week. There's a lot of slump busting going on. All right, let's talk Packers against the Texans. We talked about Aaron Jones. On the Texans side, I think you and I actually talked about it on the Ante Up podcast, worried about Jair Alexander hounding Will Fuller. Does that open up the value of Brandon Cooks, who delivered 2 weeks ago, not so much last week, and now here we are in another good spot for him?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to play Fuller in season long. They might play a little zone at times as well, so I don't know if he'll get Alexander all the time, but Alexander has been excellent. But yeah, I mean, I think Cooks is definitely in play. I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row now. He's had really good games, scored a touchdown, 21 targets over the last 2 weeks, and this should be a high-scoring game. I expect the Packers' offense to rebound. Rodgers won't be as pitiful as he was last week, and Watson's playing really good. So, yeah, I think Cooks is definitely in play.
All right. Steelers against the Titans. Titans playing a barn burner of a game last week. Ryan Tannehill, 7 touchdown passes in his last 4 games, 364 yards last week against Houston, only 195 the week before that. Meanwhile, Big Ben, 4 out of 5 games, it's been under 250 passing yards. He does get Deontay Johnson back, which presents more value on the slate.
Yeah, I think this could be. I don't love Ben for DFS. I think there's just better quarterbacks, but I do think he could have a good game here. I mean, the secondary for the Titans hasn't been good. He's got his full array of weapons, and it's a matter of, can the Titans put up some points on Pittsburgh? And I think they could. I think everyone looks at Pittsburgh as this dominant defense, and I think they're really good. But we saw the Eagles move the ball against them a couple weeks ago. Sure, the Browns didn't do anything last week, and that's fresh in the minds of people. But I think this Titans offense can put up some points. So Ben might throw a little bit more than we have seen. They haven't needed him to. The defense has been good. They've been running the football. They just haven't asked him to do too much. Hopefully we get a shootout here.
It would be nice. Listen, the Steelers defense, John and Pemba and I talk about this on the DFS podcast all the time. The Steelers defense at home, phenomenal. Must start, must use. On the road, not so much. All of a sudden, I mean, you look at the sack totals are down, interceptions are down, points against are up. So we could get a nice little shootout over here. The over-under is 50.5 right now. So I could definitely see that. A.J. Brown back at practice today in full. So they've got all their weapons going right now for Tennessee as well.
Also, look who they faced. Daniel Jones,
You know?
Jeff Driscoll, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, and then Deshaun Watson. So they really haven't faced any great quarterbacks. Watson had 264 and 2 touchdowns against them. Remember, they had a great first half, the Texans, in that game. They were playing real well, and then the second half they collapsed, and that was under Bill O'Brien. So, again, I do think the Pittsburgh defense is really good, but I think people are just like, oh, they're really worried about the Titans, and it's not the best matchup, but I wouldn't be that concerned more season long. I mean, DFS, I don't think they're going to be highly owned. Derrick Henry, obviously, tough matchup. But Tannehill is playing well, and A.J. Brown looks like he's good to go. Corey Davis will be back. Jonnu Smith, full practice. He's good to go. So this is a real fun game I'm looking forward to. 2-5-0 teams. I kind of wish they moved that game to Sunday night. Now, I'm not complaining about Seattle, Arizona, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, but I don't know. Which would you have picked if you had the choice to be Sunday night?
Oh, I definitely would have much preferred to see two undefeated teams going at it with each other. You know, I mean, why wouldn't you? Especially when you look at these two teams and say this could be a preview of the AFC Championship if things break right. You know, Seattle's great and all, and you know we love watching Russell Wilson, and it's a marquee. You know, see that's the thing is like for the NFL, it's like you know Russell Wilson versus Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins versus DK Metcalf. You know, and they you know bill it like that. But
you know the other issue though, I didn't look closely. It might have been a TV issue. I'm assuming this is a CBS game, and you know they're allowed to protect certain games.
NBC.
Is it NBC? No. Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
Oh, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Yeah, that's definitely AFC is a CBS thing.
Yeah. So they might have said, no. We're protecting that game. You know, I think they get a choice of one.
Okay.
And when you look at what's on CBS, Bills, Jets, they probably said, no, we want this game. So that's my guess is what happened.
Oh man, Bills, Jets. It's so bad.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I mean, Seattle Cardinals, cool, but I mean, I would have kind of liked to see Pittsburgh, Tennessee in prime time.
I would too. I definitely would. Next game, looking at Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. Saints by 7.5. The over/under is 51. Now, there's a lot about this game here. First of all, Michael Thomas is still banged up. We don't know what his status is going to be for the game. We do know that Emmanuel Sanders just went onto the COVID reserve list, which is going to take him out of action because he's got a quarantine for 5 days, and there's no way that he's back in time. I mean, it's an Alvin Kamara week, obviously. You know, it's a nice matchup against the Panthers. But, you know, this Saints defense hasn't been too hot either. So now it's, oh, and I know you love this, Teddy Bridgewater revenge game narrative.
Oh, come on. He started, 5 games for them?
Hey, come on. Everybody was talking about the Mike Davis revenge game narrative against the Bears, and he played 7 games for them.
Yeah, but they never let him play. That's, and so wait, I know you were being sarcastic with your tweet about Golden Tate last night, right?
Absolutely. But then,
he played 8 games for the Eagles.
Right. But then Deion Lewis fumbled it like the next play after I tweeted that to you. And I was like, except Deion Lewis.
Yeah. By the way, Matt LaFleur said he's confident that A.J. Dillon could take on a larger role if Aaron Jones is out. So I'd still prefer Jamal Williams, but there are teams that could be really desperate. I've seen some tweets at me at 14, 16 team leagues where they're desperate. Could add A.J. Dillon now, and if Jones is out, plug him in. He's a big bat. You know, gets near the goal line. We talked about the good matchup. You can plow in. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, for the Saints, we know it's going to be heavy Alvin Kamara. We don't need to go into detail on that. I think Latavius Murray is an interesting play too. He's been getting touches. He's been getting in the 8 to 12 range. This could be a game against the Panthers, who have been terrible against the run. They just ram the ball down the throat and use Latavius. I guess Cook becomes interesting, and a real deep sleeper, Marquez Callaway, who actually played good amount of snaps last week. I think he had about 6 targets. I mean, again, if there's no Michael Thomas, I know everyone's going to go to Traquan Smith, but I think Callaway's an interesting deep name. I'm sure he's probably minimum, I guess, on the DF side.
Yeah, Deontay Harris, also another name to look at over there.
I mean, I think those are kind of like dart throws.
Sure.
Because, I mean, even Traquan Smith with Michael Thomas out has been up and down, and Sanders even, he had that big game last time out, but they just haven't really lit it up in the passing game.
When in doubt, just play Taysom Hill and you're all set.
Oh, geez, don't do that. Oh, that's right. We're going to get a lot more Taysom Hill. How can I forget?
Seriously, man. Like all those Alvin Kamara shares are just getting sliced and diced. On the Panthers side, though, I mean, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, those guys come into play. The Saints don't cover the tight end very well. I know a lot of people are, kind of on that Ian Thomas train again, which I thought was kind of weird. But I mean, this again, 51 on the over under with the Panthers. It's crazy, dude.
I
Crazy.
wonder. I wonder if that number comes down a little bit.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We'll track it. We'll definitely track it. Browns Bengals coming up next. Browns favored by 3.5 on the road. We know Joe Mixon is out, so Gio Bernard becomes a factor. Does Travion Williams get a little bit of extra work in this one here, at least between the tackles?
He could. I think he's, again, real deep formats. Maybe put him on the bench. I don't think you want to start him. We've seen Gio get a good amount of touches when Mixon has been out in the past, but it is a new year, so I'd obviously go with Gio, but I do think in deep formats, if you're desperate, maybe you add him, put him on the bench, see what his workload is this week, because Mixon could miss multiple weeks. The fact he didn't practice at all, and they already ruled him out today, and we don't know the extent of the injury. I've seen some doctors speculating, looking at video, it could be a Lisfranc injury, but again, that's not official. So that's something to keep an eye on. Yeah, I mean, Travion Williams, real deep leagues. This is not for leagues with 16 roster spots, 12-team leagues. This is probably better running backs. But, if you're in a league with 20 roster spots, he's out there. And if you're really hurting, I would add him, stash him, and see what his role is this week.
You say Lisfranc fractured, it just automatically sends chills down my spine. So gross. What about the receiving core of the Bengals here? I was looking at the John Impemba and I were looking at the matchup report, looking that maybe Denzel Ward was going to be a little bit more on T. Higgins, Terrence Mitchell on AJ Green. We know that Tyler Boyd over in the slot always comes off real well against teams that have strong corner work, but they kind of soft in the middle. I mean, from a value standpoint, I said I hate it. I know John loves it. I hate it. AJ Green, I just can't stand him. But the volume for 42, I think he's like 4,200 on DraftKings, something insane like that. If he's got Terrence Mitchell on him here and Burrow has to throw, that also becomes an interesting play.
Yeah, it's tough to do. I mean, we've seen one good game from him.
Yeah.
But I do think we could see Burrow throw quite a bit in this game because they're not going to give Bernard 25 carries. We've seen them willing to do it with Mixon, but they won't do it with Gio. So this could be a game. And Burrow had a pretty solid game against them in the first matchup. Remember, these teams played on a Thursday night, and I think it was 35-30. Mm-hmm. So we might see points here again. So, obviously I prefer Tyler Boyd the most. I mean, look, if you want to risk AJ Green, I'm not going to do it.
Beautiful. Thank you. See, up yours, Impemba. He's producing today, so I know he hears me. All right, on the Brown side of the game there, they had Nick Chubb the last time they faced each other, and they just ran the crap out of the ball there with Nick Chubb. They really came up short against Pittsburgh this past week. They got way away from their heavy ground game plan. Do they go back to that? Can they do that with Kareem Hunt? Might we see a little Dearness Johnson here? And then what do you do with Baker Mayfield banged up? Do you even trust any of the receiving options? Oh, Austin Hooper, by the way, appendicitis. He gone.
Yeah, he's out. So interested to see what they do at tight end. Do they play Njoku a little bit more to showcase him for a trade? He's requested a trade. They love Harrison Bryant. So we did see him run some routes earlier in the season. So I think that they kind of hurt each other because you're kind of guessing of which one's going to do more. Kareem Hunt not on the injury report today. Had that groin issue. Bengals have given up a ton on the ground. So I do think we're going to see a lot of Kareem Hunt. He's going to get a heavy workload. And we saw it week 5. He had 20 carries. So I think you're going to see something in that range. And then receiving wise, yeah, we saw Beckham have a good game against the Bengals. Had that touchdown, could have had an even bigger day. There was a pass interference call where they tugged on his jersey. Maybe
right, you saw that.
Yeah. So, yeah, Beckham, I think you can use. Landry's a little bit more dicey, had the rib injury in week 5 that he's played through. So, I mean, he's more wide receiver 4 this week for me. Baker Mayfield, you just can't trust him right now. He just hasn't played well. He's banged up. And I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think.
All right, moving over to Detroit against Atlanta. Falcons at home favorite by 2.5. I mean, this one here, Galladay, Ridley, Julio. Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford. It smashes. What do you think about the? Because the easy choice is to talk about the receiving core. Let's talk about the running backs here. We don't know what to expect out of Detroit, or do you? And then is Todd Gurley in a smash spot?
I can never say smash spot for Gurley, just because he's really touchdown dependent. We have seen him involved in the passing game a little bit more over the last couple of weeks, but yeah, I mean this is one of the better matchups that he has. But still, man, I can't use him. I just because if he doesn't score a touchdown, he just doesn't come through for you. Then you get what you got last week, 9.7 in a PPR. Guy had 20 carries and only 47 yards. I mean, it was a perfect game script where they were playing from ahead, and he still didn't do much. And he's does have 9 targets over the last 2 weeks, so they're throwing the ball to him a little bit more, but he's not explosive. So don't love him. Swift, look, we know he has a huge ceiling. We're all kind of watching to say, okay, what does Detroit do this week? Are they going to still trot out Peterson and stick with him, or are they going to finally realize Swift's the more explosive back? So this should be a high-scoring game, so I'm hoping we see more Swift. The good news is they kind of used him at the goal line at times last week. He had that touchdown where he leapt over the pile. I mean, usually that's a spot where you see Peterson. So we are seeing progress. They came off the bye. They used him more, but he still only played about 37% of the snaps. So I'm probably going to use him in seasonal leagues after he put up all those points on my bench last week. In DFS, more GPPs if you're going to go that way and looking to get a piece of that game.
All right, moving over to Dallas, Washington. Not a pretty sight here. Well, I mean, Adam, seriously, when the season started, like before the season even started, if I told you that the Washington football team would ever be a 1-point favorite over the Cowboys, what would you have called me? Keep it family friendly.
Moron, probably. But we know how things go. I mean, Dak Prescott going down, and the entire offensive line is just in shambles. Zach Martin's out with a concussion. Yeah, it's just a mess, man. So you do have to temper expectations. I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last week. But I like Antonio Gibson in this spot. I know there's some risk because we see a lot of J.D. McKissic, but I could see Gibson scoring a touchdown. And even with McKissic, Gibson's still getting targets. He's not getting huge volume in the passing game because of McKissic. But remember, they don't really have any of the receivers. Love Terry McLaurin this week. Like, you got to play him. Right. I mean, McLaurin's had tough matchups and excelled. Now he gets a great matchup. So love him in DFS. I have him ranked as a top 12 receiver this week. I think he's going to smash. If you need a tight end streamer, Logan Thomas, who's been getting targets and playing high percentage of snaps all year, it's just a lot of the passes have been inaccurate due to their quarterback play. But he did score a touchdown last week, and Dallas does struggle against everyone, not just tight ends. They struggle against everyone. So, yeah, this is a spot where you're going to use some Washington players. And for the Cowboys, they're going to be – no one's going to play them in DFS. Don't you think? I mean, no one's going to play Zeke, right?
No, probably not.
Yeah. And they did say they're sticking with Zeke. They're going to continue to run the ball with him. Now you got to hope. Man, if he fumbles early in the game and loses it, oh, my goodness, man. Oh, and I know all you anti-Cowboy fans are rooting for that.
You know what? I'm actually not. I'm not rooting for Zeke to fumble. I would like to see him do well.
Well, so you have him?
I have him in one league, of course. I'm not an idiot. I mean, what's his name? It's not like his name's Antonio Brown and I refuse to roster him.
Right.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this about this question, this game. All right, because I hear in Pemba's voice just chirping in my ear. I don't know if it's like chirping like a bird or if it's like a bed bug just boring into like my brain here. Kyle Allen in DFS, like $5,100 on DraftKings, probably min price over on FanDuel. Do you even think about it?
You could think about it, but I mean, I don't know if you need to go there. I mean, because didn't people do this with Daniel Jones 2 weeks ago, and he didn't have a
Yes.
good game, right?
Mhm.
So um, that's the risk that you run. Um, yes, it's a great matchup, but we got to remember Kyle Allen's still not great. But if you get what you got out of him last week, you'll be happy. What 280 and two, and I do like McLaurin and Thomas, so yeah, I guess you could consider it. I don't know if we're going to need to go there this week, though, based on some of the value that's opened up and some of the quarterback play up top. And even, like, again, I love Justin Herbert this week. Is he that much more than Allen? No, right? I mean, what's
Uh,
Herbert, 64 on DK?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, you could, but there's risk involved for
All
sure.
this value leads you to Russell Wilson, because now here's the other thing is that you're also talking about um, the night game now is suddenly on the main slate for DFS this week. And so getting that late game hammer now, there's what 4 games at 4, and then the night game, and they're all in play for that. And when you want that late game hammer, the question is where are you getting all of your value? I mean, you're where are you going to end up holding back for that night game? I mean, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray. I mean, there's a lot there, but then if you look at the 4 o'clock games too, which we'll get to right now, Chiefs Broncos. Let's go there. Chiefs favored by 9.5. I mean, the Broncos are they're looking terrible. I know they've got Drew Lock back, and it's another week of health for him. But I mean, how do they even keep pace with a team like Kansas City?
They got to try to run the football with Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. And I have seen Denver in the past play well against Mahomes. They're home. It's a divisional game. And look, the Chiefs, I think what teams are doing now, I haven't seen the latest, but there was some chance of snow in that game. I don't know how much. Obviously, it's Friday, so really could start looking at that weather report more on Saturday night, because it could change. I know people freak out about weather days in advance. I don't. I just wait to the last minute because it changes. But it's a divisional game, and I think what teams are doing, and they did it last week, is they're taking away that deep pass. Everyone wonders, well, why is Tyreek Hill not putting up these big numbers? And
Right.
they're giving them the stuff underneath. And the Chiefs are saying, all right, you're going to do that. We're going to run the football. And that's what they did last week with CEH. So I think the Broncos' game plan is obviously come out, run with Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay, try and control the clock and keep that offense off the field. So that's the way I think the Broncos are going to try and play it.
All right, Niners, Patriots. I mean, you do me a favor, make heads or tails out of the Patriots for me here, because I have no idea.
Look, I think last week they didn't practice much, and I think it showed. And all the COVID stuff and Cam Newton missing time, and I overlooked that because I did have them as their money line and the parlay, and then afterwards I'm like, man, why didn't I look at this closer? They didn't really practice much. They still almost came back and could have won. Drew Lock made a couple of bad interceptions late, but yeah, I think the Patriots bounce back, but I don't feel strongly about this game at all. This is a game that I think no one's going to play anyone in this game. I mean, where are you going in this game? You can't play anyone on New England. I mean,
Right.
Cam Newton, no one's going to play him in DFS. He can run, obviously, and put up points, but you saw how the offense looked last week. There's no receivers. And for the 49ers, Kittle, I don't think people are going to play Kittle because they're going to think, oh, Belichick's going to try and take him out or do the most possible. And as successful as the 49ers were last week, it's a lot of short passes to Debo and Ayuk, right? Like, that's not going to work against New England. They're going to be ready for that. So I think this is one of those games for DFS. You kind of cross off the list. You see something different?
No. I definitely don't see anything different. I mean, it's not a pleasant matchup. I don't like it at all. And I mean, from a betting standpoint, the question is when was the last time New England's lost 2 games at home? I mean, it's like in a row. So, I don't want to, test on that, but for the same token, the team doesn't look good. Now, the DK Sportsbook pulled the Bucks Raiders game off the board right now, even though the Raiders did not, nothing but negative tests come in this morning. That game is still expected to play I'm in the Westgate Super Contest. I'm wondering, it's Bucks minus 3.5.
Oh, everyone's going to take that.
Everybody's like, why wouldn't you take that if
Yeah.
the whole offensive line isn't practicing right now?
Yeah, I did see there's a chance they could play if their tests are fine on Sunday, but they didn't practice all week. But there's still a risk that game isn't played. I think we all assume, oh, it's fine. But there's a reason why the NFL took that game out of prime time. They didn't want to risk it being postponed and have nothing Sunday night. So I think that's why they made the change. So this news of the game not being on the board is something to keep an eye on. There is potential that maybe it gets moved to Monday or Tuesday. So keep that in mind.
All right, Jaguars against the Chargers. This one's an interesting one because we're kind of in a very similar spot with the Chargers that we were with the Lions. Coming off a bye, you get a tomato can defense like the Jaguars. You've got a kid like Josh Kelly who you want to see what he's got. You want to bring him in. Justin Jackson still hindered by an injury. Is it a rib injury that he's dealing with right now?
I think it's a knee.
Is it a knee? So when you look at this game here, I mean, listen, you said you love Justin Herbert. I love Justin Herbert. I love Mike Williams. I love Keenan Allen. I love Hunter Henry. How do you sort out the backfield here?
Yeah, DFS, I'm not playing either guy. Season long, I have Jackson ranked a little bit higher, but if you need to use Kelly, sure. They gave Kelly 23 carries in week 2, so they're not afraid to use him. I think what happened last week is it was kind of even, and then the game got close late, and they just stuck with Jackson. And my guess is because they didn't want Kelly fumbling because he fumbled in weeks 3 and 4. So I didn't see any comments on that. That's my interpretation. But I think you could use both backs in season long. I wouldn't in DFS, but yeah, I love a stack of Herbert, Keenan, Mike Williams, or Hunter Henry. Love Keenan Allen to me this week is just a great play. I mean, the salary's too cheap. It sounds like I think I saw that he was practicing today. It was just back spasms. He had the week off. I mean, Herbert has played well. He's aggressive. It's a good matchup against Jacksonville. So yeah, I mean, I love that stack this week.
Coming back the other way on that, where do you go? If you're stacking the Chargers, where do you go coming back? Is it DJ Chark? A lot of people still like James Robinson, although I'm not really trusting against the Chargers defense that gets Melvin Ingram back.
Yeah, I think the Chargers defense, a good streamer, picked them up in a lot of season-long leagues. They were on bye last week, and they were available. Yeah, it's Chark for me. He's off the injury report. He had 14 targets last week. Everyone's going to look at 7 for 45 and like, it wasn't that good. Look at Keelan Cole. But Chark had 14 targets, and there was about a 50-yard play that Minshew missed him on. So he hits that. We're looking at an even bigger day, and he could have had a touchdown too. So, yeah, I think DJ Chark would be the way to go.
All right. Then the primetime game, Seattle against Arizona. I mean, this fireworks galore. It's a 56 over under. Who's your favorite in this one?
It's got to be probably Metcalf, man. That guy is just balling this year, man. Hopkins did see Kingsbury say he's going to play. He's obviously been dealing with an ankle issue. He didn't practice much last week. Had a down game, but Kyler Murray only completed 9 passes in that one. And I think Christian Kirk, I know it feels like, you're chasing. He only had 3 targets last week, but he had 12 targets combined in the previous 2 weeks. And, they're going to have to keep pace with Seattle. Seattle's going to put up points. So I think Christian Kirk could come through again. Murray has not been great, though. I mean, fantasy-wise, he's been phenomenal. But if you watch, he's still missing a lot of passes. But that connection with Kirk against the Cowboys was a great catch by Kirk. Outstretched arms and off the fingertips and hauled it in. So I think Kirk's not a bad play either.
Where are you at with Chris Carson?
He's fine. I mean,
you don't love him though.
For DFS,
for anything,
season long, yeah. I mean, we're lock and load RB1. DFS, haven't really looked at him yet, but he's fine. I mean, they're going to score. He's going to get the goal line carries. He could always have a 2-touchdown game. He's involved in the pass game, so he's fine.
Okay, all right. And then Monday night, let's talk about it's Bears Rams. This one's an interesting one. Bears are 5-1. Are they a legit 5-1?
No.
Right, you see, there it is.
No way.
Is this just Jared Goff teeing off on him?
I don't know. I don't know. Tee off, man. Bears defense has played pretty well. I don't think we see a lot of points in this game. Total's 44.5. The Bears have done a good job against wide receivers, but Woods and Cup, I'm going to use them in season long. They're a little bit lower in the rankings this week because of the matchup. Now, Darrell Henderson, keep an eye on him because he didn't practice yesterday with a thigh injury, but that was a Wednesday practice for them because they play Monday night. So today and tomorrow is key. Maybe we finally see some Cam Akers if Henderson's out.
Why you got teased like that, man? Why you got teased like that?
And Allen Robinson, I'm still using him, but it's a tough matchup. He's probably going to see a lot of Jalen Ramsey, who's been excellent, but volume's going to be there. So more of a wide receiver 2 this week. It's tough. I can't really bench him, but there might be some people who have great options in shallow formats where maybe he is the odd man out. But we play in a lot of deep leagues where I just don't see how you can bench him. But don't expect a monster performance from him this week.
All right, there you go. That's week 7. An abbreviated version. Again, like I said, go and listen in Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Adam and I will be elaborating on all of that stuff. Plus, special guest Papoose going to be joining the show here. We're going to have some fun with him, talk a little music and everything like that. Adam's introduced me to him, and this should be a great show. You don't want to miss that. Like and subscribe to the fantasyalarm.com YouTube page. Guys, we are doing bigger and better things with our videos and our streams, so you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. And as always, you can hear Adam and I Monday through Friday on the Ante Up podcast, part of the Sawdust Podcast Network. We had a pretty good argument the other day, and you guys should check that out. Antonio Brown argument. We might bust into some of that today on the Fantasy Alarm Show. Although I think maybe I might have dropped a few too many F-bombs to really allow that. Well, we don't know. Maybe Papoose will help us soften the blow a little bit, and I can get a little crazy on that.
Justin Jackson, by the way, it is a knee issue. He's listed as questionable.
Justin Jackson, questionable knee issue. Get those Josh Kelly shares. That's going to do it for us here. As always, a big thanks to John Impemba for all the work that he puts in behind the scenes as well. For Adam Ronis, I'm Howard Bender. This has been Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk.